Right, we're going to weigh out here the benzoic acid. And you can see that Kayla is going ahead and zeroing out that watch glass. You'll notice that she's weighing it while it's off the balance. So she's putting it on while it's off the balance. That way we don't get any materials on the balance that we shouldn't have. I know it makes it a bit more difficult to weigh, so she's just going to put a little bit on there. That's fine, just for now, and we'll just see how much that is. That's about half a gram, right? Mm-hmm. So you know you need about 10 times what you've got there. So you can. So she's just going to scrape out a whole lot now because she knows she needs about 10 times what she had. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly 5. I think anywhere between 4.5 and 5 will probably do. 4.5, 5.5, something like that. Need a little bit more than that. That's about 3.68. But remember, we're not after an exact amount, so it's okay to do it this way. That's about 5.18. That's good enough. All right. Thank you. So here we've got the benzoic acid, and how much methanol did we add to that?
12 mils.
12 milliliters. So it's 12 milliliters of methanol and about 5 grams of benzoic acid. And we're going to go ahead and stick that into the ice. So go ahead and stick it in the ice, and we'll let that sit for a bit. And what's going to be added next to it?
Next is the concentrated sulfuric acid.
Yeah, it has to be cool before we do that. So we'll leave that sit for a bit and then we'll come back to it. So in here we have benzoic acid and methanol, and we're going to add sulfuric acid. How much sulfuric acid are we going to add, Natalie?
2 mils.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, we're going to add that. That's good. That's concentrated sulfuric, right?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
And a couple
Of boiling stones. And we're also going to grease that joint. Kayla, would you please grease the bottom of the condenser there? There we go, that's good. Now, because we're putting this in a mantle and it's been in ice, we're going to be careful and wipe off the ice because we don't want to short the mantle. That's really important. So Natalie, you can go ahead and stick that in. You can remove the funnel and clamp the flask, and she's going to clamp it by the neck. So you can see that they're going ahead and putting the clamp on there by the neck. And make sure it's around the, is it tight?
It's getting there.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Go ahead and stick that in. And you can turn the water on. I'm just going to look at that joint, make sure it's tight. I think we need to lift it up a little bit so that the clamp is below the lip of the flask there. So I'm going to zoom in on that, just show you what I'm talking about. That makes it a little bit tighter. You can see how the lip of the flask there is just above the clamp, and that will help secure it. So this needs to be boiling, so go ahead and stick it on 10, and then once it gets to once it starts boiling, you can take it down to maybe 2 or 3. It's only methanol, so it's not going to take much to boil. So we've had this boiling for about half an hour now. This is the methanol and the benzoic acid to make the methyl benzoate. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that heat right off now. Could you please remove the heat completely? Yeah, so take it down with the lab jack. This is why we use a lab jack, because it makes it so much easier to do this. And then Natalie's going to take that right away. She's going to take the heat right away from it to let it cool. Okay, that's good. So you'll notice that Natalie didn't turn off the water yet because it was still cooling. But now that it's pretty much stopped boiling, she can go ahead and turn off the water. And what I want you to do is remove that condenser from the top, just a condenser, please. Now it says in the directions to add it to water, but we're actually going to add it to ice because that'll have the effect of cooling it down and adding it to water at the same time, which is going to be a whole lot nicer for us, I think. So go ahead and take off the clamp here, the whole clamp. Yeah, there we go. And I want you to pour it in using the clamp, please. There we go. That's great. Okay, so now let's go ahead and give that a bit of a stir. Stirring right here. Now it doesn't really matter if the ice melts or not for the next step, but we're going to go ahead and do the next step, which involves the extraction. Alright, let's go ahead and add it in. Now Kayla's been very careful to make sure that the stopcock here is closed, which is great. Now you'll notice that there's a whole bunch of ice coming into the top here. We don't care about that, that's good. Now she's just going to dispose of that ice probably into that same beaker she got it from. That's great. Okay, so now we're ready to roll to the next step. So we've got here, is it methylene chloride?
Yep.
Okay, so she's going to put in methylene chloride here.
35 milliliters.
Yeah, 35 mils. Okay, so let's put a stopper on top and give it a little bit of a shake. Now you'll notice the technique here. Hold it upwards, please, Kayla. I mean at an angle.
Oh.
Upwards at an angle, but away from you, and not at Natalie. And making sure that you're holding that stopper on securely as well. That's good. Now go ahead and release the stopcock, release the pressure. There we go. And now close it and give it a bit more of a shake. That's good. And release the pressure again. That's good. Now once the pressure's stopped releasing and you don't hear anything, I think it's pretty much done with the extracting. So you can go ahead and put it into a ring. Have you got a ring there? That's going to be too big. Natalie, would you put that on, please? Thank you. Alright, so let's go ahead and stick that into the ring. And could you lower it a little bit, please, Natalie? We don't need it to be so high up. So as you can see, we've got two layers there. What we're interested in is the bottom layer. So that's going to have the methyl benzoate in it. How many extractions are we going to do with methylene chloride?
I believe it's
Just one. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead. Now you're going to have to take the stopper off the top there before you do that. There we go. Otherwise, it won't come out. So we're going to release that. And we're going to take it down to pretty much just where the interface is. Alright, that'll be fine. It's good. And we'll end up discarding that top layer. We're not interested in that. All we are interested in is this bottom layer here. Okay, so let's get rid of that top layer. Alternatively, it can be poured out the top as well. But either way. Let's go ahead and just rinse that out a little bit with some water. Just leave the stopcock leave the stopcock open and add some water to it, just from a wash bottle.
Okay, bottle.
Yeah, this will be fine. Alright. Just rinse out, so we can rinse out that. That's good. That's good enough. Alright, now close the stopcock. And we're going to put the bottom layer back in. So if this was the bottom layer, the methylene chloride layer that's going in there now. That's good. And now we're going to, what are we adding next?
25 milliliters of water.
Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with water. We're going to wash it with water. Go ahead and put the water in, about 25 mils. Alright, that's good. And now we're going to do the whole separation thing again. Alright, so make sure you're holding your finger on the stopper like that, that's good. Now hold it upwards at an angle, but not towards me.
Higher up.
Higher up? No, at an angle. It needs to be pointing upwards.
This way.
Yeah, that's right. And now, not pointing at me. There we go. And hold it, keep on holding it up at an angle and just rock it back and forward like that. Perfect. That's great. That's good technique. There we go. That's good. And you'll notice she's got her finger on that stopper and she's holding it at an angle and then releasing the pressure occasionally. So that works out nice. Good. Okay. That'll do, since it's not doing anything anymore. Let's put it back in the ring. And we are going to, again, remove that bottom layer, but into another beaker. There we go. And we're going to keep the top layer in the top. And I think what we'll do this time is we'll pour the top layer out by the top. Okay, that's good. So we keep that bottom layer. You know she's sequestered it, and we're just going to pour the rest of that into that water there. That's great. Okay, so top layer will always be the water. What are we going to do next?
Another one water.
Okay, another water. Let's do it. I think there's already, is there 25 in there? That's good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Oh, add there.
It doesn't really matter either way. But you're going to have to put both of them back into the container. So Natalie's putting in the water first, and now she's adding the methylene chloride back in. It doesn't matter either way. Still going to get the same thing. And hold it, keep on holding it up at an angle and just rock it back and forward like that. Perfect. That's great. That's good technique. There we go. That's good. And you'll notice she's got her finger on that stopper and she's holding it at an angle and then releasing the pressure occasionally. So that works out nice. Good. Okay. That'll do, since it's not doing anything anymore. Let's put it back in the ring. Alright, so now she's taking out that bottom layer again. And we are going to... There we go, it's good. Right, and again we'll pour out that top layer. Okay, so now we're doing 5% sodium bicarbonate. Now this one you have to be a little bit, go ahead. you have to be a little bit careful with it when you're doing the extraction. Make sure you release the pressure early. So go ahead and add that bottom layer. Sometimes the sodium bicarbonate produces carbon dioxide, which produces some pressure, especially if there's a little bit of acid left somewhere in the solution. Alright, so go ahead and put the... No. You still want to shake it up here. Now release the pressure quickly because it needs to... There we go. And try again, and release the pressure. Alright, that's good. Since it stopped releasing the pressure, we're good to go. And we'll take out the bottom layer. And we'll discard the top layer again through the top. Alright, nice.
Ready?
Alright, so we're putting the bottom layer back in now. We're going to add some saturated sodium chloride. Of course, the saturated sodium chloride will be on top. This will suck any of the water that's in the solution out and into that sodium chloride layer. Alright, so you're going to do the whole shaky thing again. Okay, and that's good. Alright, she's got a finger on that stopper as well. And it doesn't look like there's any real release going on, so that's good. Now we're going to release that bottom layer. Just take the stopper off. There we go. It doesn't come out when the stopper's not. No, the stopper's still on, right?
Good example of what not to do.
No, that's all right. Alright, that's good. Now what are we going to, what's next?
And then we're going to be drying over anhydrous sodium sulfate
Okay, let's get a smaller beaker to put that in.
in an Erlenmeyer flask.
Or an Erlenmeyer flask, a small one though. About 125 ml will be fine. Pour the bottom layer into that flask and then we'll take it over and we'll do the stuff with the magnesium sulfate. So there'll still be a bit of water probably in this solution. Alright, you're going to need a spatula, please, Natalie. So this is the anhydrous magnesium sulfate. Generally we keep it lidded because it can suck in the water. So go ahead and take off the lid now. And the question is, how much do we add? So what Kayla's going to do, she's going to add like a spatula full or a half spatula full. You might have to lift up it up and angle it. There we go, that's good. Go ahead and stick it in. Alright, now she's going to give it a bit of a swirl. Now the idea is that some of it will stick to the bottom because it's going to suck up the water. But only the stuff that sucks up the water will stick to the bottom. So as long as it doesn't all stick to the bottom, which it hasn't, then you've added enough. Now if it did all stick to the bottom, then you would definitely need to add a little bit more. But because it's not sticking, we've added enough. Now what we're going to do is decant off the liquid from the anhydrous magnesium sulfate or anhydrous sodium sulfate, whatever you happen to be using. Now she was very careful not to move that liquid around too much, which is good. Now she's just trying to leave it so the solid stays in the flask and the liquid goes, solid stays in the Erlenmeyer and the liquid goes into the round bottom flask. That's what I mean by decant. That's why she's being very careful about it. So there's a little bit of liquid left in there, and that's okay. Alright, now she's going to wash that solid with a bit of another portion, no, into the flask. There we go. And then she's going to do the same thing. Just sort of rinsing that off, and then putting the liquid into the... Alright, it's good. Alright, now we can go ahead and take that over to the rotary evaporator. Okay, so go ahead and clip the flask to the rotary evaporator. We're using a Keck clip again. We just showed how to use those earlier. As you can see, the big part's around the big part, little part around the little part. It's good. Now we're going to go ahead and turn everything on. So what I'd like you to do is hold on to the flask for a start. There we go. And we always should be holding on to the flask until the vacuum takes. So let's go ahead and turn the vacuum on. No, the vacuum is down here. Vacuum. Turn on vacuum pump. Now there's a, see that glass stopper at the end there, or glass switch? Yeah, turn that 90 degrees towards you. Now that turns on the vacuum. Now you can let go of the flask, right? So now what we're going to do is turn on the spinner. And we're going to turn on all the way. It's good. And then we're going to lower it into the water. Just a little, yeah, there you go, that's perfect. Now the thing is that methyl benzoate is a liquid. So the question is, I'm going to lower this a little bit now. The question is, how long do we leave it in here? Well, what we're looking for is for all of the methylene chloride to be evaporated off here. So it's going to go up the condenser here, and then it's going to be, well, some of it might be collected in this flask down the bottom here, but some of it might just get evaporated out. That's why we've got it in the fume pot too. So you'll see here that we've got a lot of boiling and stuff going on in here, and so the level of the liquid will continue to decrease. So what I would look for is, first of all, lack of bubbling. That will show you that the methylene chloride has stopped boiling off. The methyl benzoate itself boils at something like 350 degrees, so that's not going to evaporate through here. But what will happen is that the methylene chloride will evaporate off, and the bubbling will stop, and the level of the liquid in the flask will remain stable. So we're going to wait for that point. We're going to wait for that point for the bubbling to stop and all the liquid to remain level. Alright, so you can see the liquid here has begun to stop bubbling a bit more here, and the level of this liquid is beginning to stabilize. So we're going to wait for that bubbling to pretty much completely stop, and then we will see where we're at with the level of the liquid. So it looks like the level of the liquid here is stabilized. There's still a little bit of bubbling going on, but I think that's going to continue. So I think we're done there now that we've got a stable level. So Kayla's going to go ahead and turn everything off here. I'm going to raise this up here. Let's try it again. There we go. So she's raising it up. Now she's going to turn off the spinner by turning it back to 0. She's going to turn the vacuum down. Hold on to the flask, please. There we go. And then turn off the vacuum pump. There we go. Now we can go ahead and take that off. And it's clipped on, so that's good. Now she's going to hopefully remove that. It's coming off?
A little warm.
Oh, okay.
Come on. Oh my goodness.
There we go. There we go. Could you, let's turn that down, bring that down. Alright, let's take a look at the liquid here, put it in the camera. And you can see here that all the methylene chloride's gone. All that's left there is that's methyl benzoate. Now what Kayle's going to do is she's going to pour that into a flask and weigh it, and she's done.